Good morning. Pocket sevens for tonight. This should be a big hand. Probably will be easy to play, but I thought we'd go ahead and look at it right now. So folds around. We get button 3 bets. His attempt to steal is 40%. Just overall attempt to steal, fold to steal 70%. I don't think he's going to be too wide. When we look at his pre-flop attempt to steal from the button, it's at 36%. I think VPIP is 27%. So I think when it's folded to him, he's. I think we're looking at a range that's like this, not overly large. Maybe we could add in a few because it is supposed to be like 30%. Maybe we add in a few more of these suited kings. Maybe all the suited kings. Maybe more of those. So that's looking to be his range, and then it's on us. And we can look at our 3-bet versus 3-bet or call range. I think versus a player like this who's not overly loose, I think this could be a suitable call range. We know he's not attempting to steal like 50% plus, in which case I think I'd favor raising some more of these hands just to run the steal. And it's not just like when you raise these hands, but we're also adding in some other hands as well, just as bluffs. So I did call. So I've got my range here. That's going to be my calling range. And we see a flop of Jack 10-7, which is obviously great for us. I think for us, we're checking. We're going to check the villain. This is a board that I anticipate most people will be c-betting. He does have a high c-betting percentage. So I think we have hands that could justify raising here. So like running a check raise. I think 2-pair plus. And we throw in our open-ended straight draw. We could probably do a 2-card gut shot as well. I think when we add in a 1-card gut shot, it starts looking like we're going to be a little bit too unbalanced. Our straight is at the low end, 7, 8, 9. I think we're going to plan to check raise those because I do think a king queen is going to call us. And we're trying to build a pot. So our effective stacks at this point is right at 100. So I think I'm looking to check raise with those hands. So I check and he checks, which is interesting because it's a question mark when he c-bets, over 70% of the time, and he's in position here. So 83% of the time, question is, what is he doing this with? Why didn't he bet? Maybe he's being tricky with straights. I think that would be the only thing that he would be tricky with, but I think sets, 2-pair, overpair, top pair, I think all of those should be betting. Or maybe he has like a one pair hand here, and he's afraid that this board is too scary, and knows that if he bets these weaker pairs, that there's going to be a higher chance that he gets called. I mean, that's entirely possible. We have 300 hands on him. Yeah, so nothing, too personal on the notes, but I would imagine he would have checked with most of these. So let's give him, let's say king. We'll do king jack is a check, and then all the rest of these are checks. We'll give him, I would have assumed open ender would have bet. Let's do our gut shots as checking. So really let's just X those out. Let's say that's his checking range. All right, so now 7 of diamonds hits. Gives me a monster, and it's on us. We missed our check raise, so now the question is, we need to try to build the pot and get some value. Does this count as a check raise? maybe, but he's already checked once. Maybe he checks again. I think with us, since we have quads, I think our play is just to probably check. If he checks again, we're gonna have to bet something, try to get some more money in there, but I don't. It's gonna be difficult to get much more out of here, and especially this is a 10 NL game. If it was versus regulars that I had been playing against, this could be a spot to where I bet. They've seen me, at the regulars. If they're taking notes, they would see that I don't necessarily have to have anything. If it goes check, I do have a higher probability that I'm betting, especially in a heads up pot. So this could be a spot where I could easily bet, five big blinds, 6 big blinds, and then a thinking player could come over the top, and that's what we're hoping for at that point. So villain, we check, villain bets, and at this point, I can't imagine that he's going to be that he's going to have a super strong hand here, because I would have assumed he would bet with trips. So I don't think he has a full house. So we have to be careful about trying to avoid scaring him away. So I think he could be betting 100% of his range, including the 3 of kind, but we know he doesn't have those. Maybe no made hand. We'll get rid of the no made hand. Say he has at least the pair here that he's betting. It's going to be on us. Do we raise? The question is, if we raise, what kind of hands call? I think top pair calls. I think middle pair. I think top pair calls. I think everything else is probably going to be a fold, and that's why I think I'm glad I just called here. I've got a major hand, but let's talk about what we would have just called versus raised. So I think quads is just calling. I think full house is just calling. I think our straight is probably just calling. And I think 3 of a kind is probably just calling. I'm not sure about the overpair. Two pair. I mean, we've got a decent hand, but any over cards now get us. Let's do this. I think we're raising his bluffs. Let's change those. Yeah. I think we're going to try to raise these top pairs, middle pairs. I think that's what we would go for, and we're really just going to be monsters if we just call. I think with how the hand played out, if we raise, we're probably getting a lot of fold with this range here, and that's about more than a third of those hands will be draws. So let's go back to here. I did just call. I think that's probably the correct play. So now I'm just like super strong, and the question now is, could I bet? Could I reasonably bet like an 8, a queen 9? And I think here, I think this is the alternative to check raising. And I think we'd probably check raise with all of those, even with a straight. And 3 of a kind, I don't think we would necessarily bet. I think if we do 3 of a kind, we're betting, hoping that we get it, that he's calling with 1 pair hand. And when we look at it, I think if with our bet, I think he could reasonably call with top pair, middle pair. And he probably will, because it's not, we're betting half pot, he probably just calls. And that's what he did. So we're going to X out those top pair, middle pair. I'm going to say these weaker ones, 8s and 9s, probably doesn't call with those. Oops. Man, I wish I could undo it. Oh yeah. Okay. Let's get the king of spades on there. There we go. Yeah, that's. I think he's calling with at least 3 of kind, but we know he doesn't have that. I think you're a good 2 pair, maybe a middle pair calls. That's about it. And you note he's not raising. I think 3 of a kind raises here. So he did call. He shows 8-9. So he actually flopped a straight here, which means I think we lost out on quite a bit of value. I think he would have been. I think if we check raised, if he bet the flop and we check raised, he's going to probably call and possibly even just get all in at that point. And that was where we missed our value. But he slowed down. He didn't raise. And I just wonder if we lead out on the flop, would he raise? This is fairly innocuous board. He has the 8-9. I think the 7 on the board is going to scare him. He's going to be wary about the full house, but did I necessarily lose value? No, probably not, because I'm not sure if this player is going to be, he had the opportunity to raise us on the river and he didn't. He could have bet larger on the turn. He didn't. He bet half pot, and this would be the only spot. If he bets half pot here, if I raise, does he call? He probably does call, and then probably calls again. But again, I've got 7s. I've got the board just locked. It's going to be hard for a straight to call. So if I raise it up to about 10 big blinds. He calls. So we've got 26 in the pot. If I bet 26 again, if I do a pot size bet, would he call with 8-9? He might conceivably fold. But he might also say that maybe I have a 7. See, really, when you see the check raise, what hands make sense with the check raise? Full house or trip 7s. There's really no. Don't forget the straight too. So maybe he gives me credit for a straight. So anyways, miss some value here, and I do think I missed some value. So wish I could get it back, but it's unfortunate we couldn't take a stack with quads. In any case, hopefully you enjoyed this hand. If you did, look tomorrow for another.